Alright, continue from where we stopped. This is minus here. This is minus, then here will be plus. So there's no minus here. Okay, so the squared e is equal to the squared e over the z is equal to jw u in bracket j plus jw e epsilon e. Right. So let's consider a medium of free space. If free space is the medium. Now it's propagating the z-axis because that's where our wave is going. It's in the z-axis. That's why I decided to use the z. Okay, because you can still use that. You can use since e is a vector, it has x, y, z component, but they'll all have to be in a specific direction. You can't have x moving in z direction. No, it doesn't work that way. All right. So considering free space, if we should consider free space, that means we don't have any charge because space is free, so there's no charge. Because there's no charge, then there's no current. Because there's no current, then J is equal to 0. So we put 0 here. Now J squared is equal to minus 1. So we get minus W U epsilon E. And that's what we have here. So we have W squared mu epsilon E. Now that's a constant, W squared mu epsilon. Now let's just manipulate it a little bit. You can see that this epsilon, mu epsilon, is equal to 1 over square root of u epsilon naught, epsilon, mu epsilon naught, raised by minus 2. As you can see that manipulating it, that gives us back this, so we can put it as this, but we can denote that entire thing there 1 over square root of mu epsilon as v. So we have minus w squared v squared, v raised by minus 2 epsilon. So that's w squared over v squared e. But this can be denoted as a constant, propagation constant, which is this symbol over here. So that means you can see if y squared is equal to omega squared over v squared, therefore propagation constant is equal to omega over v. I'm putting it back inside. This is minus here, so I can say grad squared e is equal to propagation constant squared e. So this is what we have. But our omega over v is equal to, well, omega squared over v squared rather is equal to omega squared epsilon mu naught epsilon naught. So therefore our propagation constant squared is equal to w squared mu naught epsilon naught. Now let's try to find out the components that make up our propagation constant. So if we say propagation constant is equal to alpha plus j, beta is standard complex number. So we're saying that, okay, propagation constant is a complex value. So it means this squared is equal to alpha plus j beta squared. And that's going to be alpha squared plus 2j alpha beta minus beta squared. Therefore, this is going to be alpha squared minus beta squared plus 2j alpha beta. As you can see, this side is our real and this side is our imaginary. So if we have that and we compare it with what y squared is originally, y squared does not have a j value. Y squared does not have a j value. Okay, and let's find the magnitude of our propagation constant squared. That's going to be square root of alpha squared minus beta squared plus 2 alpha beta squared. That's you're picking the real side and your imaginary. You're finding the magnitude of it. So that's going to be, if we open the bracket, we'll get alpha 4 plus beta raised to power 4 minus 2 alpha squared beta squared plus 4 alpha squared beta squared. So if we simplify this, we get square root of alpha 4 plus beta raised to power 4 plus 4 alpha squared beta plus 2 rather plus 2 alpha squared beta squared. Now normally this is going to give us the inside here is naturally equal to alpha 2 plus beta 2 squared. So if you just find the square root of that's mathematically roots and alpha roots of equations and blah blah blah, and we'll get alpha squared plus beta squared. So if this is our magnitude, and this is also the same as saying square root of this epsilon squared, and that's still equal to w squared epsilon naught and mu naught epsilon naught. So that means we can see that alpha squared minus beta squared is equal to this, and alpha squared plus beta squared is equal to the same thing. So if we solve it simultaneously, put a minus sign, then you get minus 2. This is equal to alright, a brief review rather. This is minus here. Why? Because if we compare it to what we had here, minus w mu epsilon naught, and that's going to be our coefficient, that's going to be our real part, minus w squared mu naught epsilon naught. So if he has minus and we do minus, here is now going to be, instead here we'll have minus 2 omega squared mu naught epsilon, and that means our b squared is equal to square mu naught epsilon naught. So our b is going to be the square root of everything, and b is going to be mu squared square root of mu naught epsilon naught. So what are a b? If b is equal to square root of mu naught epsilon naught, and alpha squared minus beta squared is equal to minus w squared mu naught epsilon. Remember, your b squared is equal to w squared mu naught epsilon. So therefore, alpha squared is equal to minus w naught mu naught epsilon plus w naught mu naught epsilon. So therefore, you see that this guy cancels this guy, and your alpha is equal to 0. So in free space, your beta is equal to this, and your alpha is equal to that in free space. So therefore, you can see that our propagation constant, the magnitude of our propagation constant, is equal to b, and is equal to this square root of mu epsilon from what we had here initially from what we had in this point, in this place. But this was squared, so if we do the square root, we'll get this. And if you notice something very amazing from what Maxwell found out, it was such that 1 over square root of mu naught epsilon naught is equal to 2.99 times 10 raised to the power 8. If you recall, that is equal to the speed of light. So it means that we can replace this 1 over square root of epsilon here, or this v squared, with c, and we can say that e squared epsilon, no, e squared e, grad squared e is equal to minus w squared over c squared e for free space.